You probably thought the story of Star 1923 Star ended with one of the most heartbreaking finales in the entire Yellowstone universe. But what if I told you that the next chapter could be even bigger? The first details about Yellowstone 1944 are finally starting to surface, and if these early reports are anything to go by, we could be looking at the most emotional, action-packed, and devastating Yellowstone series ever made. A brand new generation of Duttons is ready to take over. The world is changing faster than ever, and for the first time, the Yellowstone universe could step directly into the shadow of World War II. So today, we're going to break down everything we know so far about Yellowstone 1944, what the first trailer could reveal, which characters are expected to return, and why this series might completely change the future of the Dutton family forever. After the emotional ending of Star 1923 Star, one thing became very clear. Spencer Dutton finally won the war for his family's land, but the victory came at an unbelievable cost. Alex sacrificed everything just to reach Montana, only to lose her life shortly after giving birth to John Dutton II. It was a heartbreaking ending that left Spencer with the ranch he had fought so hard to protect, but without the woman he loved more than anything. That emotional pain is something I believe will shape the entire story of 1944. By the time this new series begins, more than 20 years will have passed. Spencer will no longer be the fearless young adventurer we met in Africa. Instead, he'll most likely be an older, tougher rancher who has spent decades carrying the weight of his loss. Even though he successfully protected Yellowstone Ranch, I don't think he ever truly recovered from losing Alex. And because of that, there's a very strong chance we'll see a completely different Spencer Dutton than the one fans remember. At the same time, John Dutton II will finally step into the spotlight. Until now, he's mostly been a mystery in the Yellowstone timeline. We know he eventually becomes the father of John Dutton III, but we've never actually seen the years that shaped him into the man who would carry the family legacy forward. That's exactly why 1944 feels so important. This series has the opportunity to fill one of the biggest gaps in Yellowstone history. Instead of watching Spencer build the ranch, we'll finally watch John Dutton II learn what it truly means to protect it. But taking over Yellowstone has never been easy for any Dutton. Every generation has faced impossible choices, powerful enemies, and heartbreaking sacrifices. So I think John's journey will be no different. However, the biggest threat this time may not come from Montana at all. By 1944, the entire world is at war. Millions of young men are fighting across Europe, and America is fully involved in World War II. That creates a huge question for Yellowstone fans. Will the next generation of Duttons leave the ranch and join the battlefield? Personally, I think there's a very strong chance they will. Taylor Sheridan has always loved telling stories about sacrifice, family, and survival. Setting part of the series during World War II would allow him to explore all of those themes on an even bigger scale than ever before. Imagine John Dutton II being forced to leave Yellowstone behind, not knowing if he'll ever return. Imagine Spencer watching his own son head into a war that could take everything from him, just like Spencer once lost the people he loved. That kind of emotional storytelling feels exactly like something this franchise would do. And if that happens, the first trailer could already start teasing those emotional moments. I think we'll probably see an older Spencer standing alone on the ranch, looking across the same land that cost him almost everything. We might hear him talking about sacrifice, legacy, or the responsibility of protecting the family name. Then the trailer could introduce a grown-up John Dutton II, showing that a new generation is finally ready to carry the Yellowstone legacy forward. Instead of revealing too much, I believe the trailer will focus on mystery, leaving fans wondering what kind of danger is waiting for the Dutton family this time. Because if there's one thing Taylor Sheridan always does perfectly, it's making every new story feel bigger than the last one. But here's where things become even more interesting. While everyone is focused on John Dutton II, there could be another member of the Dutton family quietly preparing to change everything. And if the latest theories end up being true, the fight for Yellowstone may not stay inside the family for very long. One of the biggest questions surrounding Yellowstone 1944 is whether the Dutton family will once again find itself fighting from within instead of standing together. If there's one lesson we've learned from every Yellowstone series, it's that the ranch is never just a piece of land. It's power, it's legacy, and it's something every generation has been willing to sacrifice everything to protect. That's exactly why I think the next chapter won't simply be about World War II. It will also be about a new battle taking place back in Montana. While some members of the family may be fighting overseas, others could be fighting over who truly deserves to inherit the future of Yellowstone Ranch. And honestly, that kind of conflict feels almost unavoidable. As we learned in 1923, Elizabeth left Montana after the tragic death of Jack Dutton. But before she left, she was carrying his child. That detail could become one of the most important storylines in 1944. If her son grows up in Boston, he'll spend his entire childhood hearing stories about the father he never had and the legendary ranch that has always belonged to his family. Sooner or later, curiosity alone could bring him back to Montana. But I don't think he'll return simply to visit. There's a strong chance he'll believe that Yellowstone is also part of his inheritance. And if that happens, the Dutton family could once again find itself divided from the inside. Now imagine this situation. John Dutton II has spent his entire life working on the ranch, believing that one day he'll become its rightful leader. Then suddenly, another member of the family arrives with a legitimate claim to the same land. Neither of them would be completely wrong. Both would carry the Dutton name. Both would believe they're protecting their family's future. And that's exactly what makes this kind of conflict so dangerous. The Yellowstone universe has always shown that family disagreements are often more destructive than battles against outside enemies. I think 1944 could continue that tradition in an even bigger way. At the same time, Spencer Dutton could find himself trapped in the middle of it all. After everything he sacrificed to save Yellowstone in 1923, the last thing he'd want is to watch his own family destroy itself. But age changes people. Spencer may no longer be the fearless hunter who solved every problem with a rifle. Instead, he could become a leader trying desperately to keep his family together before everything falls apart. That would create some incredibly emotional moments because Spencer understands better than anyone what this ranch has already cost the Dutton family. Losing Alex changed him forever, and I don't think he'd be willing to watch another generation repeat the same mistakes. Of course, there's another possibility that could make the story even more dramatic. Instead of fighting each other immediately, the younger Duttons may first be forced to fight side by side. With World War II reaching its most dangerous stage in 1944, many young Americans were serving overseas. That means John Dutton II, Elizabeth's son, or perhaps even another member of the family could all find themselves wearing the same military uniform. Imagine 3 different heirs to Yellowstone standing together on the battlefield, risking their lives long before they ever return home to argue over the ranch. That would create an emotional bond between them, making every future disagreement even more heartbreaking. And this is exactly why I think the first trailer will probably avoid showing the full story. Instead, it may only give us small hints. A military uniform. A train leaving Montana. Spencer watching his son walk away. A voice talking about duty, family, and sacrifice. Those short moments alone would be enough to send Yellowstone fans into complete speculation. Taylor Sheridan has always been brilliant at creating mystery without revealing too much, and I believe 1944 will follow the same formula. Every scene in the trailer could leave fans asking even bigger questions instead of giving clear answers. But while the Dutton family prepares for one of the greatest challenges in its history, another familiar story may also continue in an unexpected way. Because there's one 1923 character whose journey feels far from over, and their return could completely change the future of Montana itself. While most fans are talking about Spencer Dutton and the next generation of the Dutton family, I honestly think there's another storyline that deserves just as much attention. And that's the future of Tiana Rainwater. By the end of 1923, her journey was one of survival, courage, and hope. She escaped unimaginable hardships and finally found a chance to build a new life. But knowing how Taylor Sheridan tells his stories, I don't believe her journey ends there. In fact, I think Yellowstone 1944 could finally show how the Rainwater family became one of the most important families in the entire Yellowstone timeline. By 1944, more than 2 decades will have passed. That gives Tiana plenty of time to build a family and create a completely different future from the one she almost lost. I think we'll see a much older and wiser Tiana, someone who has spent years fighting to protect her people instead of simply surviving. If that's the direction the story takes, her role could become much bigger than it was in 1923. Instead of running from danger, she may become one of the strongest voices in Montana, standing up for her community while the Dutton family faces challenges of its own. What's really interesting is how this could connect directly to the modern Yellowstone timeline. We already know that Thomas Rainwater becomes one of the most important characters in Yellowstone. But there's still a huge gap in his family's history. 1944 has the perfect opportunity to start filling in those missing pieces. We may finally see the generation that comes before Thomas, showing how the Rainwater family slowly rebuilt its future after everything that happened in 1923. That would make both storylines even more meaningful because we'd be watching the histories of 2 legendary families unfold at the same time. Of course, the relationship between the Duttons and the Rainwaters has never been simple. Sometimes they've been enemies. Sometimes they've respected each other. And sometimes they've even helped each other survive. That's why I don't think 1944 will present either family as completely right or completely wrong. Instead, we'll probably see both sides trying to protect the people and land they care about. Taylor Sheridan has always preferred complicated characters over simple heroes and villains, and I expect this series to continue that tradition. Now let's talk about something that every Yellowstone fan is waiting for, the cast. Even though Paramount hasn't officially confirmed who will appear in 1944, there are already plenty of theories. First of all, I honestly can't imagine this series without Brandon Sklenar returning as Spencer Dutton. Spencer is now one of the most beloved characters in the Yellowstone universe, and fans have made it very clear that they want his story to continue. Since Spencer would be much older in 1944, Brandon would probably appear with aging makeup, but I still think he's the perfect actor to bring that older version of Spencer to life. Then comes the biggest casting question of all, who will play John Dutton II? This character has never had the spotlight before, but in 1944, he'll likely become the heart of the entire story. Whoever gets this role will have enormous expectations because they'll be playing the man who eventually raises the next generation of Duttons. The actor will need to show strength, leadership, and the same determination we've seen in every Dutton before him. If the casting is done right, John Dutton II could easily become another fan-favorite character. There's also a strong possibility that we'll meet several completely new characters. Every Yellowstone series introduces fresh faces who eventually become some of the most unforgettable people in the franchise. 1944 will probably be no different. New soldiers, ranch workers, political leaders, business rivals, and even new members of the Dutton family could all play important roles in the story. And considering that America was changing rapidly during the 1940s, these new characters could bring challenges unlike anything we've seen before in the Yellowstone universe. But if you think family conflicts and World War II are the only problems waiting for the Duttons, think again. Because another threat may already be growing in Montana, and this one could put the future of Yellowstone Ranch itself in greater danger than ever before. As exciting as all of these theories are, there's one question that every Yellowstone fan keeps asking. When will we finally get to watch Yellowstone 1944? Right now, Paramount has not announced an official release date, and the series is still in development. But the fact that Taylor Sheridan continues expanding the Yellowstone universe is a very good sign. After the incredible success of 1883, 1923, and the newer Yellowstone projects, it's clear that this franchise is still one of the biggest television universes in the world. And because 1944 connects directly to one of the most important chapters in Dutton history, there's no doubt that Paramount will want to give this series the time and budget it deserves. Personally, I think production could begin once Taylor Sheridan finishes some of his current projects. If everything moves according to schedule, there's a strong chance that 1944 could arrive sometime in late 2027 or early 2028. Of course, that's only a prediction for now, but considering the amount of planning required for a period drama set during World War II, it would make sense. Unlike previous Yellowstone series, this one would need massive sets, historical locations, military costumes, vehicles, and battle sequences. That alone could make 1944 one of the most expensive productions Taylor Sheridan has ever created. And honestly, I think that extra time will be worth it. If this series truly explores both life on the Yellowstone Ranch and the impact of World War II, it has the potential to become the biggest Yellowstone prequel yet. Fans won't just be watching another family drama. They'll be watching the generation that bridges the gap between 1923 and the original Yellowstone story. Every decision these characters make will shape the future of the Dutton family for decades to come. The first trailer will probably reflect that same feeling. Instead of revealing major plot twists, I think it will focus on emotion, legacy, and sacrifice. We could hear a powerful narration about protecting the land, honoring family, and carrying responsibilities that have been passed down through generations. Short glimpses of an older Spencer Dutton, a determined John Dutton II, young soldiers preparing for war, and the breathtaking Montana landscape could be enough to remind everyone why they fell in love with this franchise in the first place. Rather than giving away the story, the trailer will most likely leave fans with even more questions than answers, building anticipation for what's coming next. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if 1944 introduces completely unexpected twists that nobody sees coming. Taylor Sheridan has built his reputation by avoiding predictable storytelling. Just when fans think they know what's about to happen, he takes the story in a completely different direction. That's exactly what made 1883 and 1923 so unforgettable. The emotional moments felt real because nobody was truly safe. If 1944 follows that same formula, then every episode could leave viewers wondering who will survive, who will sacrifice everything, and whether the Dutton family can once again protect the ranch that has defined their lives for generations. One thing is certain. Yellowstone 1944 isn't simply another prequel. It's the missing chapter that connects one of the most emotional endings in the franchise to the legacy that eventually reaches John Dutton III. It has the opportunity to answer years of unanswered questions while introducing a brand new generation of unforgettable characters. Whether it's Spencer's final years, John Dutton II's rise as the next leader, the continuation of the Rainwater family story, or the devastating impact of World War II, this series has all the ingredients to become one of the most ambitious Yellowstone stories ever told. For now, we'll have to wait for Paramount to release the first official trailer and reveal more details. But based on everything we know so far, the future of the Yellowstone universe looks brighter than ever. And if these early details are only the beginning, then fans should prepare themselves for another unforgettable journey filled with action, heartbreak, family, and sacrifice. Now it's your turn. What are you hoping to see in Yellowstone 1944? Which character are you most excited to watch again? And do you think Spencer Dutton will finally find peace, or is another heartbreaking chapter waiting for the Dutton family? Let me know your theories in the comments.